Greetings, hello, and welcome back to What Was I Thinking? I am your lovely 6 foot tall, ripped, full head of hair host, Mr. Lee Syatt. And if you're listening, you know that is 100% true. No reason to question it. If you're watching, there must be something wrong with your computer or phone or television. And just a reminder, even though there is something wrong, I don't know what it is. For some reason, I just look like a short, chubby, balding, like George Costanza after like a really long Krispy Kreme binge. I don't know what it is. In real life, I am tall and charming, and everyone loves me. But you can watch. I'm sorry for the weirdness, but you can watch the fake me on my YouTube channel now. Just Lee Syatt. You might search Lee Syatt on YouTube. It'll pop up, and so will some videos of me being inebriated. But pay no attention to the high man on the internet. Just go right over to my YouTube page, which there's a link to on all of my social medias, and now you can watch it. And I'm happy with that. I got a new camera just for the computer. So you can see me in crystal clear HD, which is not my best. I should be on film in black and white behind a camera, behind a screen. But welcome to the show. It's 2 weeks in a row, an episode I'm very, very excited about. We have Jesus Trejo on today's show. You know him from Tacos Contorto. You know him from his Showtime comedy special, Stay at Home Son. And you know him from for opening up, for Bert Kreischer on his comedy tour with the bus. And you also know him from being a great guy. And you know what? Let's just get into it. I will tell you more about myself in the outro. I just want to say thank you to everyone at patreon.com/Lee Syatt and everyone who has checked out my Fiverr podcast consulting. I'm having a great time doing it, and I just appreciate everyone on my Patreon as well. I'm down 50. That is all. I'm sorry. I'll take 2 minutes of your time. I really want to say thank you to everyone for all of the love. I didn't expect it at all. If I had, I would have made a much better tweet. But when I tweeted my before and after picture of my weight loss, so far, I was very touched by all of the nice comments, and it, for me, it went sort of viral. So thank you, and I actually have an announcement about that in the outro. So please, you know what? I'm just gonna say it now. Sorry, I lied twice. I have a new podcast coming out tomorrow. If you're listening to this any day after Tuesday, March 16th, it is out now. It is called, I forgot. It is called the Waistline podcast, with Lee Syatt. Waistline, ripping off Loveline since 2021. So, if you're interested in weight loss and weight loss related topics, and if you're looking for like a really great community, that is what I'm looking to build. So check it out, Waistline Podcast. Just search my name; it'll pop right up. But if you're listening to this podcast the day it comes out, Monday, March 15th, it'll be out tonight or early tomorrow morning on Tuesday, March 16th. If you're listening to this any other time besides March 16th, it is already out. So without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. Jesus Trejo. Thank you so much for coming on, Jesus. You were saying things are getting back to normal, and I've been out of LA since August, and it's depressing. I should be in the beginning of my 4th year, but I can't really count my 3rd year because I did one 4-minute set. I haven't done anything, and it's just, it's the worst. But you're still in LA, right?
Yeah, I'm still in LA. I'm still out here, still holding down the fort.
Well, you're pretty much the king of LA now. I think you're one of the only ones left.
And you know what? I know a lot of comedians moved and stuff like that, and it makes total sense. But for me, my family is here. I'm born and raised here in Long Beach, and I live here with my folks. I don't see myself moving from here anytime soon. It would be fun to move. I think it would be really cool to, see what it's like to live somewhere else. I think that would be cool. But this is home. This is I'm here.
Right, well, and that's short. I want to talk to you about two things,
Uh-huh.
because I know obviously and you did a you didn't do it. I think it was AARP did a documentary on you about you taking care of your parents. What is that called so people can go find it?
So it's called Care to Laugh, and it's on all the streaming platforms. And this is now like I think we're coming up on 5 years since they did it. And
Has it really been that long? I thought it was like 2 years ago. That's crazy how
no,
time flies. It's been five
yeah,
years.
time flies. I want to say it's either at the 4 or 5 year mark.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, they basically ARP. It all started when we were doing so they reached out because they were doing a show at the Hollywood Improv, and they had work with Google. ARP and Google worked together. And what ARP wanted to do was to research, find out what it is that caregivers needed. And what came back was that caregivers needed two things: they needed time and they needed laughter. So they put together this really cool event for caregivers and caregivees, where it was a night out on the town. It was a nice dinner, a nice comedy show, and it was a beautiful event. And it was called Care to Laugh. Jim Brewer was headlining it, and
Oh wow.
I was on that lineup, and super fun show. And then it was such a hit that ARP wanted to do more of these, right? So it's like, you know, ARP Studios reached out and was like, hey, that was a big hit. And, we also learned about your situation, you being a caregiver yourself. How would you feel about doing another show just like Care to Laugh in LA, but in New York? And I
Oh,
said,
okay.
sounds phenomenal. Unfortunately, I can't go because, that's kind of when things were getting complicated. My mother's health was already a little tricky, and then my dad was getting sick. So I'm like, you know what, I can't do it. So, that was the last conversation we had. And then they came back with, would you be open to being the subject of a documentary? And I was like, that's a little tough. Let me talk it over with my folks, see what they say. And, we talked about it for a while, and they were the ones that were like, yeah, let's do it. I think it would be fun. And, I had my reservations along the way, kind of like, it's tough to put yourself out there in that way. But my
Absolutely.
parents were like the ones that are like, no, I think this would be really cool. And I'm like, all right, if you're up for it, I'm up for it too, of course. And
That's really cool.
yeah, and it just follows me. It follows my caregiving journey while I'm following my stand-up comedy journey. So I'm juggling two things at once, and this film is like a snapshot in time for sure.
And I mean, and it's essentially like you have two or I guess three because it sounds like you're taking care of both of your parents. You have like three full-time jobs on top
Yeah.
of whatever you're doing, and it's the reason because I'm not my parents' caregiver at all. But when I left LA in August, I went to Milwaukee for 2 months. I had a little bit of work, but then basically since late November, early December, I've been splitting time between my mom up in Boston and right now I'm with my dad in Florida. And I moved out the last time I was ever living with my parents was the summer between freshman and sophomore year of college, and ever since then I had an apartment. And then I immediately, like a week after graduating college, I got in my car and moved to LA.
Mm.
And because of that, like I got very lucky. My parent, like a lot of people who move to LA, their parents either never come to visit them or they always have to go visit. Like the kids have to fly to go visit.
Sure, they have to. Yep.
And my parents always came out. But even especially when I started the podcast with Joey, we never. I mean, Joey, he doesn't take time off. So
Yeah.
I would see my parents for like maybe 4 days twice a year, so maybe 8 days a year. I would see them for close to
Hmm.
10 years, and it's weird. Like when it was happening, I missed them, but it was also like when they would come. Sometimes I would feel like, oh, I got to take care of my mom, or like I can't go do stuff now because like my mom or dad's here.
Hmm.
And one of I had a very good or have a good relationship with my parents, but I will always as an adult, like that's not what you imagine being in your 30s, living with your parents. Like
Right.
it's very negative in like movies and TV shows, and it's actually been one of the best things about the pandemic. If there's anything good, is like I now have spent 2 months basically with each of them, and there isn't that 4 days like we got to go do all this touristy stuff. It's just like hanging out, watching TV, cooking, like just regular stuff. And it's
Yeah.
I'm very thankful now that I've been able to do that because, and it's weird. I don't know if your parents did it, but as soon as my parents hit 50, they started talking about them dying, and like they showed me like where the will was, and like they just
Oh
started like
yeah.
like I like my when as soon as I got down here, my dad was like, "You should really get life insurance so when I die, you can have some money." And it's like I like you don't want to hear that as a kid. Like you don't want to hear.
Those are tough conversations. Absolutely. It's like I feel like it's to like the cultural aspect of it. For I guess Latino cultures. I'll speak for what I know. Is like living with your parents is like somewhat of a normal thing. You don't really move out. To have that experience that you just spoke of like going to college and moving out and being able to go to LA. That's kind of like the family's so tight knit. Like
Right.
it's like we're so close together that I think over time, like certain roles are assumed of like, I think my situation was a little different because I was like the caregiver from such a young age. Because excuse me,
That's fine.
I didn't have command of the English language till about fifth grade. So
Really.
yeah, so even though I'm born and raised in Long Beach, like, I had the upbringing of like, much like my parents did. I was only around people that spoke Spanish. My only like window into the English language was music, cartoons, and kids at school, and that was tough. But eventually, you kind of get the hang of it. So it's like I showed up for my parents in that way. But yeah, it's tough, and those conversations that you're talking about, as far as like, I'm gonna die pretty soon. I'm gonna do this. It's like I feel like in my culture they just happen really young, and you're just a kid like, what? You're gonna die? Dad
Right.
just talking
Yeah.
crazy kind of thing. And then as you get older, at least my parents had me later in life. So as time went on, I'm like, oh man, they are getting a little, they're slowing down quite a bit.
Right.
So it's like, dang it, but yeah, it's interesting. Those things are part of life, and I don't know that there's ever a right or a comfortable way to have those conversations. I
No,
mean, they're painful for everybody, I think.
they're painful, but it's also like it was a little bit different. My dad's father passed away very suddenly, so I know
Uh-huh.
it was a surprise. But other parents like it happens more slowly, and I don't know which one is better. And I don't want my parents to die, but it's also I'm very thankful now that I have this time with them to look back on because I know even though I wish I had the money to be living on my own or like I living in New York or something, but it's like I know that this isn't gonna be forever, and I know that eventually they aren't gonna be here. And I
Yeah.
have friends who have already lost parents,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
like a very
It's tough.
it's extreme. I couldn't imagine like it's
I
honestly
couldn't
something
imagine.
I don't know if do you ever get and especially because I know you're the caregiver, so when you like if you go on the road, do you ever like if they don't answer the phone, you're like they died, like they're dead,
Well,
like they got
it's one of those things where I worry. I'd be lying if I said I'd be lying if I told you I didn't have those thoughts at some points. Where you're like, oh boy, here we go.
Yep.
But I do get worried. That's for sure. I do get worried, but it's like being on the road is such a big part of what we do as comics that when you go on the road, you almost have to go on the road every once in a while. Like this past year has been tough. I mean, I was lucky that I was on the road opening for Bert, and that was phenomenal. But when you go a long time without going on the road, you're like, oh man, that's kind of how I keep the lights on. So you get
Right.
worried, then you're like, all right, awesome, here we go. There's good news, bad news. Good news is I'll be gone for a week and a half. Bad news, I'll be gone for a week and a half.
Right,
So
and
you have to fight that.
you have to fight, and it's also it's like I mean, you probably have more training than I do, and I guess I would do want to learn about that. But it's like if even if I was home, I'm not a doctor. I can't save them if they like if it's their time, it's gonna be their time. I guess unfortunately, but it's like it's just that worry, and you love them so much, but like
Yeah.
because when you were talking about the Latino culture, my only experience with that is I had an ex who was Mexican, and mom didn't speak much English, but then Felipe Esparza in one of his specials told jokes about like the young, I think it was his HBO one, not his newest Netflix one, where he was talking about like the young kids translating for his parents, like and
Mm-hmm.
like filling out like government forms at a young age. So
100%.
do you think
Put it
a
like this. Sorry to interrupt you.
no
You
no
just
go for it.
like put it like this. I literally filled out my parents' American citizenship application. You know what I mean?
At what
It's.
age?
I mean, I was probably like in middle school. But even
Wow.
before that, is like I remember standing in line for having to fill out programs for paperwork for government programs. So you're out there early because the lines get long. So you're out there, before the sun goes up. You're there in line waiting, and you're probably missing school some days just because they need you to translate. This is like time sensitive stuff, so it's like they need you to go and figure it out.
That's and this really isn't about the parent thing, but just since we're on the topic,
Yeah.
it was very interesting for me to date that girl because it's a big topic right now, and it's been a big topic for a long time about like illegal immigration and like why can't people just learn English? And it's like it's not that simple in a way. It's like
Yeah.
I mean it's all like it's a very it's especially if you come over and as an adult and you don't know the language that you maybe you can't get a job, and it's not like they're like actively being lazy or like they don't want to. It's just like how are you gonna if you like let's say you're working two jobs all out all day, like how are you gonna learn like go and learn English in your spare time? You barely probably have enough
Exactly.
energy to cook dinner.
Yeah.
It's a very different thing. And then so like on that topic, one, because you what you were saying about how with the Latino culture, like it's more normalized for you to still live with your parents. Do you think you would have been like looked down upon if you had moved out? Like, would it have been like, oh, Jesus is abandoning his parents, or like, was that pressure for that?
That's a good question because I don't know. I don't know if I would have totally been looked down upon rather than it would have been like it would have been really tough. Those conversations would have been really tough, and there always would have been this kind of like you know elephant in the room of like when you're coming back kind of thing. And
Right.
each family is different, but I think it's like had I moved out earlier, I mean that would have definitely being the only child between my parents, between my mother and my father, it's like that also adds like an added pressure. And then um they're older, so I don't know, there's just I think my situation just lended itself for me to eventually start having mail come in my name. That's how I knew that I was the head of the household. Is like, oh, my parents don't get mail here anymore. Like they're all under, attention, Jesus Trejo 4, Antonio
Oh wow.
4. So it's like, you know, all the utility bills are in my name. Like, I'm basically the person in the forefront. So it's like there over time, I think I would have come to the realization that my you know, that I needed to show up in this way. And it would
Right.
have been like a harder transition as opposed to, hey, we're making it work. It's a team effort. It's like I'm making it work for them, and they're helping me out in other ways as well. So it's I always look at it like a team effort, like the squad. I mean, it's like everyone plays their position, and you look out for each other, and we move forward.
That I mean that's awesome, and it's like, do you feel like because I'm just imagining like it's something that I've thought of being home. It's like I like you said you do see your parents slowing down a little bit, and it has been a thought like, oh wow, I wonder if there is going to come to a point where I do need to go into that like for like in your words caregiving role.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think, and it's like it's kind of scary for me, but like do you think like your experience sort of helping your parents from like a very young age with like some very important things like prepared you for that in some ways that maybe I'm not prepared to do?
I think those experiences, because they can be tough, and I think because they're tough and because they're like just something you don't expect a younger person to have to deal with. Yeah, they prepare you a bunch for later in life. It's like I do know how to, get answers that I need within like if I go to a hospital, it's like I'm almost like an EMT. The times that I've been around where, like, let's say my mom needs to go to the hospital, when they come in, it's like, all right, she's this and that, her blood's this, she takes this, she's allergic to this. So I'm running down the whole thing beat by beat. Or I can have conversations with a doctor that I think, I'm a little more in the know now, just because of years of having to be in this. Oh, that was a loud one.
Your dad does races motorcycles.
He's, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, just years of being in these situations. I'm able to kind of hold a conversation a little better with doctors and, healthcare provider, people that you have to talk to along the way. And I'm able to get my parents what they need. So it does become easier, but it never stops being like, it never gets easier. Right.
Right.
So,
Oh yeah. Do you
yeah, but
remember?
it's like, yeah, it does help you. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that in the past has helped me, in the future for sure.
And what age or how long have you been, like, in the medical sense, been a caregiver?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think hmm, I remember having to help my mom administer insulin since I was in, I want to say, early high school.
Wow. And you're what? You're probably in your like early 30s, mid 30s right now.
Yeah, I'm 34 now.
Okay. Wow. Since
So
early
so
high school.
so I was probably, like, say, I'll just throw a number out there, 15, 16, like, yeah, 17, 16. So about 15 is kind of when I started. So for over 19 years, right?
That's yeah.
Right.
That's wow. Yeah. No. Yeah. The math. Your math is perfect. I get nervous
Yeah,
with math
I'm just
too.
like, I just, yeah. So for a long time, I have shown up, and it only got worse. It's all been cumulative. I mean, it's like,
Right.
so all about diabetes. All right, now let's use that knowledge and learn about high blood pressure. So it's like
Oh.
everything just kind of builds, and it's a challenge. And but the cool thing is, if there's a cool thing about all this, is, being able to know the things that I'm receptible to, and what's in our genes, and how I can prevent these things. That way, if down the line, these things do come about, it's like, oh, that was a personal choice. It's like, I knew I knew that I should have changed this habit or that habit. And I'm not perfect, but it's like it definitely makes me aware of certain things.
Well, that I mean, and I know everyone's different. Like you can't say all Latinos are great cooks, but I remember with my ex, her mom was a world class cook. Like
Oh yeah,
I had a
I
joke.
believe it.
I had a joke that I miss the mom more than I miss the daughter now because I miss eating every weekend. Um, and it's just
That's
true, like
great.
tacos and enchilada and all of that. And my ex struggled, and a lot of people in her family would struggle with their weight because frankly it was just like the food was so good, and it was also like
It's
sort of
delicious.
rude to like saying like she didn't her mom like almost didn't really understand, like, what do you mean you're on a diet? Like
Yeah.
there's no diets in my house. But like you're very, for the audio listeners, you've been in shape since I've known you, and you're talking about diabetes with your mom, and that isn't always a weight related issue, but it can be for some. So like, were you ever big and like had to get in shape, or have you just always been
Yeah,
in shape?
I mean,
Okay.
I was always a big kid, always a big kid, and I still am now. It's like I struggle with my fluctuation of, like, weight, and it's one of those things. I mean, you nailed it, man. It's like the culture. I think every culture just kind of bonds over food, and
Absolutely.
sometimes, like, the food isn't the healthiest, just in the way that they were prepared, and it's just like, you know if you start saying, no, I don't want this kind of thing, it kind of disrupts the the recipe. Like, being able to cook tamales with lard is like, ooh, lard isn't the way to go. But that's a traditional recipe. You would use lard, from an animal, in the making of tamales. And when you taste those, you're like, oh dang, like this is real deal. And then you taste some that are made, I guess, with Crisco or that kind of thing, and you're like, these are good, but I could tell the freaking difference, you know?
Right, and then obviously, I mean, I don't know how you grew up, but I mean, if money's an issue, it's not like when are you gonna buy two different versions of everything? Like
A
no,
hundred percent.
like yeah, it's food is so. I mean, when did you? Was it when you started taking care of your mom that you're like, hey, I need to really focus on my weight?
Yeah, that I needed to focus on my weight, and also there was a lot of times when my parents, even to this day, they didn't speak to me for a while because I would start bringing groceries. I took it upon myself to bring groceries, and there were no snacks. There were nothing that they deemed delicious, and it was everything that the doctor was like, they got to eat this, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And I mean, and then I would go the other way. Like sometimes I just wanted it sweet, sweet, sweets, and then we would have it in the house, and I can kind of see the effect that it had on my folks. But I, you know, just the other day, it's like, you know, we're having, you know, just to give an example, just the other day, uh, my parents, my parents are not supposed to eat Jack in the Box, and they're like so hooked on it.
Oh
The
yeah,
number 11, the sourdough grilled
sourdough
chicken
jack.
sandwich.
Oh, the grilled
Yeah,
chicken. Okay, okay.
yeah, the grilled chicken sourdough with the bacon on it and the fries, and they're so hooked on it that like we have arguments. Like the other day, like my mom was all bummed out, and I could tell she was like visibly bummed out. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, I was about to leave somewhere, and I called ahead. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna run a little bit behind." Like she was bummed out. I said, "What's going on?" She wouldn't tell me. And she's like, "You know what? It's been a week and a half and no Jack in the Box." And I've been taking all my pills and all this stuff. I'm like, you want to take no pills? How about no Jack in the Box ever again? And you don't have to worry about these pills. And I shouldn't have said that, you know.
Right.
There's a power struggle to
Well,
try to get my parents to eat well. And it's just like, dang it.
well, I was gonna say, and it's funny that you brought that up. Is like it's something that I struggle with now, and I'm not a caretaker, but it's like I've started to have to kind of assume like as a kid, it's just they're the boss and you do whatever they say. But like
100%.
how hard is it to be like not that you're the boss of them, they're still adults and they're still they can
Right.
still make their own decisions, but it's like, you know what, I am your caretaker, man. I know this isn't gonna make you happy. It hurt. I wish I could just get you Jack in the Box, but listen, you can't have it. And like I know you're gonna be upset at me, but I wouldn't be I would be hurting myself if I let you do this. Like how
And
hard was that for you?
it's very hard. I mean, look, like we make jokes of it. We're comics, so we make jokes of it. But the truth of it is that some conversations are pretty gnarly. Like,
Right.
you know, I talk about it in my special. I make a whole joke about it, where you know, catching my father eating chicharrones, you know, pork rinds, and it's like, you know, I try to make it funny in the special, but it's like the truth of it is that like that was some serious conversations where like my dad's like, you know, kicking a chair over, and he's like, I eat what I want to eat. I'm like, but you said you were going for a walk, and you come back and your lips are all shiny because you've been eating these greasy pork rinds and you forgot. Or he's hiding like a paper bag full of pork rinds, and it's all like it looks wet from all the oil being soaked into the paper bag.
Right.
And it's like, what is this, man? And confronting your own pops that he's eating bad, like it's like a parent confronting a kid with a pack of cigarettes. It's like, what are you doing? You know, we don't do this,
Right.
you know, kind of
I thought
thing.
I raised you better. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought I raised you better. Where did I go wrong as a parent? That's how I feel, you know.
That
And
yeah, that
it's
must
like,
be tough.
yeah, and, you know, you make it funny and we laugh about it, but the truth of it is like, you know, I'm like, how do you get somebody to like how do I communicate it any better to let them know that it's like, hey, there's some real risk on the table if you keep this lifestyle up. And again, I keep saying it, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I feel like a hypocrite because it's like I do eat like in the last month I've been eating like the best I've ever eaten in my life. Like, you know, green smoothie in the morning, oatmeal with cinnamon powder, some apples, and some crushed like walnuts in there. Like I'm eating really, really healthy. Try not to eat any meat, fish. You know, I'll do fish like here and there, but it's like I'm almost like now taking it like the only thing I haven't done is to lead by example. And because I was able to eat the Cane's chicken, the fried chicken here, the burger here, and that kind of thing, because I could eat it. Like I think I was, damaging my own health, but also like they were just like, well, he can eat it.
Right.
How come we can't? So it's like it's almost like a drill sergeant that says, drop down and give me 30, and he drops down with you and he's doing them with you. There's a
Right.
level of, yeah, if I have to do 1,000 of these and you're gonna be down here with me, I have to do this because you're doing it, kind of thing. And it's just like a team. Like it has to be communicated. It's like, I can't be a hypocrite. It's like I'm telling you guys to eat healthy, and I'm over here killing Cane's chicken. Like,
Right.
come on.
Oh no, I can imagine that would be tough. And it's like, so you were like, I guess the only thing, like the next step is like, has this process made you like, what is your thoughts on you having a family one day with like kids and maybe a wife? Like, is that something that you see for yourself, or like, are you looking forward to like having some time by yourself and like what
That
is?
is that is a great, great, great question, Lee. Like that has been something I've really pondered and talked about, uh, by myself, kind of thing, just trying to like figure stuff out. I mean, I don't know what that's going to look like for me. I think my timing is definitely going to be a little different, just because you know I, I don't have any siblings to kind of delegate these responsibilities to. So I'm kind of placed in a situation where it's like, what does that timeline look for me? Is it going to look different than other people? Most likely it already is, because a lot of friends my age are, they have beautiful families on their third, some on their second kid, and it's like phenomenal. And in a perfect world that would be great, but it's like, it's like I have other things to juggle. And when the time is right, I definitely would like to even think about it some more. But it's like, it's tough. And I know one thing, that if I did have a kid, it's like I feel like I would know what to do. I know how to change diapers already.
Right.
I'm doing it at the macro level. I'm sure I can do it at the micro level.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, that's fun. I
Yeah, so
mean,
it's like, it's a bunch of stuff that, hey, I feel like being a caregiver here has really prepared me. It's like I know, sleeping schedules. I haven't had a sound more than 6 hours of sleep in a long time. So it's like I feel like I could really be the kick-ass dad. But it's like,
yeah.
who knows when I'll be able to. But I've done everything already. Diapers, mixing formulas together, like waking them up, bathing them. It's like, come on,
Yeah,
like
you're
same
right. You're
thing.
you're gonna be the king dad now. Like, what what has dating been like for you? Taking care of your parents, how has that gone?
Good. I mean, I have a girlfriend now, and
Oh,
she's,
you do? Okay.
yeah, and she's super, super understanding, and she really gets the situation. Um, you know, as a matter of fact, she's here at home today. She's hanging out with my folks. But it's one of those things where it's cool. She really gets the situation that I'm in, and sometimes I do require to hang back a little bit and kind of take care of stuff at home. So it's cool. It's cool when you have somebody who's supportive and understands these things. And I've been lucky, over the years. It was like to have that support from all ends. Whether it be girlfriend, friends, family, fellow comedians, who have just been very gracious and understanding the situation, and sometimes having to cut short certain gigs, or having to come back home, or can do a full gig because I can't be out, like an extended period of time. Like, people have been very supportive. And going, even taking it back full circle to like the documentary thing, I talk about it in the documentary. Is like, that saying, Lee, where people say it takes a village to raise a kid.
Yeah.
It's like it also takes a village to help somebody age gracefully. Like I honestly believe that. And it's like there's a whole village of people who have come together to support my caregiving efforts, and also in my efforts of helping my parents age gracefully. So
Well, that
um
that's wonderful, man. It's because I know that it didn't have to go so well. I mean, there's a lot of kids who, and there's no judgment, but there's kids
No
who
judgment,
put
sure.
their parents in the facilities, and that might be better for some people. But it's like not everyone would step up the way that you've stepped up, and it's awesome. Um, and I think it's like it's to be applauded, man. I mean, I don't know if people tell you that often, but it's
Oh,
like you've done a great
thanks,
job, and
sir.
of course, I mean, I'm very thankful that I haven't had like it's and then to the second thing I want to talk to you about is just like there's a class of comedian that I like the I guess I would compare you not stylistically or but just like work ethic wise to like a Jeremiah Watkins. It's like you guys are both up and coming comedians, but it's like you guys make me feel lazy because you guys are always out there, always like you had a golf show, you had a couple different shows, you had a food show, you have a food show on
Food
First We
show.
Feast now, so you have two shows. You're always like I remember like the first and actually only because I did the Ice House with Joey a few times, but then I got booked once. Then when they were doing a tacos, like you got like tacos and a beer on like for like a $20 on like a Tuesday night. I forget like it was like right before the pandemic happened,
Uh-huh.
and I went up and I didn't do well, and you went up at the end, and like I just remember like it just, when I first started comedy, like it was very obvious to me, like even when I did well for me, there's just like a different level of when you've been doing it for a long time, where like I just remember you were like sitting down like leaning against the back wall and just so comfortable on stage, and like doing every time I saw you, you were doing something different, and it was just so like as a new comic, very inspiring and motivating to see that. And it's like I just kind of want to very quickly talk about like on with all of the other things you do, how you're able to work so hard comedy wise, and like and how you were able to like really get to where you are now.
Oh, well. First of all, I didn't know that they were giving us tacos and a beer. I didn't get the
Oh
tacos and
no,
the
we didn't
beer.
get it.
So,
The audience got it. They
oh,
got
I
it.
was
They
about
got
to
it with their
say,
ticket.
oh man, I gotta go back. I am
No.
pissed that they shortchanged me.
Yeah.
Uh, um, um, I think just I always I think about this. Like our peers are people who love what they do. And if you look around at the stand up, comedian landscape, you know, no, like I don't know that any of us work a day in our lives because we're so like regardless of what they got going on in the background, right? It's like whether they have a day job, whether they don't, whether whatever it is, it's like this is something we love. So I think we share that, like the camaraderie that exists between stand-up comics is that we go all in.
Right.
And going all in may look different for the next comic and the next. It's like we're always writing, we're always, go, doing this show or trying this. It's like I'm constantly thinking, just like I'm sure you're the same way, where you're always thinking of something funny, you write it down. I've learned to expand that into other things. It's like, oh, this show thing might be cool. Let's try that. And then it fails. It's like, all right, we ditched that. But it's like I always like having a lot of pots on the stove. And you never know when one's gonna be ready. It's like, oh, this one's ready. It was, it started boiling before I thought it was gonna get to that point, and that just what it is, and you replace it with another pot. And sometimes you do a taste test on this pot and you're like, this is terrible, you get rid of it, bring in another pot. So it's like I always kind of like look at it in that way. It's like, I don't like to be idle, I don't like to be twirling my thumbs, and if I am, it's because I'm brainstorming for the next thing in between things. So
Right. Well, I mean, what you said, and I do. When I really haven't done comedy in a year. So like it's when you say like you're always working on it, and like I gotta say, like even just for my, I don't want to crap on anybody else, but even just for me, it's like when I see like my friends who would be at open mics after working I didn't work 9 to 5. I had a much easier, more open schedule. There were some days that I couldn't because of the podcast, but for the most part, I didn't have to wake up early and work 8 or 10 hours and then go do open mics. And it's like I don't I didn't have I have a good work ethic, but there's a different level to it of, especially when you don't when you have free time. Like it's one thing to be at a job and they say do this and you do it, but when you
Yeah.
like when you're like your own boss, it's not
Mm.
easy to always be motivated and working on it and like writing new stuff. And it's like, as an open micer, I would see a lot of people. Like sometimes I'd see someone and they'd be like, I've been doing open mics for like 7 years, and like you always have to do open mics. Like they have their place, but it's also like I've seen you do the same joke every time since I've been doing it for 2 years. Like you really aren't putting the same work into it that other people are, and everyone has different goals, so they can do
Right.
however they want. But it's I think you're not giving yourself enough credit to like, yeah, maybe you were at a doctor's appointment with your mom at 9 in the morning, and now it's
Yeah. I mean,
two
that's
a.m.
happened. Yeah.
and you're going up at the store, or like when did you start comedy?
I started comedy when I was 20 years old. That was the first time I went up on stage.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was when the first time I went on stage, and I didn't go up for a full year because I bombed so hard, and also like I couldn't get into any bars. But the main reason was I bombed pretty hard, and I was like,
Right.
I'm staying away for a while, and then I finally got up sometime after I turned 21 because I could go into the bars and that kind of thing. And I
And
use it as an excuse. Looking back, I use it as an excuse to wait a whole year. I wish I didn't wait that long. And then I was going to school. I was, going to college. Then I graduated. Had day jobs. I was at some point I took over my dad's landscaping business when he was really sick. So I was like mowing lawns during the day and then going out at night and waking up early and doing it again. But yeah, it's been shit 14 years, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's I mean, so when you were
Wow.
doing, like, you live in Long Beach, right?
Yeah. Well, I lived in Long Beach for a long time. I'm in the South Bay now.
Okay, and that's still, I mean, I know, like, I'm good friends with like Danny Frank, who I know came to your special taping, and like
Oh yeah, yeah,
there's a really good group of guys in Orange County, but Long Beach is sort of like in between two scenes, and I
yeah.
know there are shows in Long Beach, but it's like, as for me, it's like I lived in the valley and it would take me like 20-25 minutes maybe to get into Hollywood, and even some nights I'm like, I don't want to go I'm just going to go to the fourth wall cuz it's 5 minutes from my house. But like, how was there ever any bit of you like when you had to like work all day and you're exhausted, you're like, I got an hour to an hour and a half ride to go do an
Yeah.
open mic? It's like, you're like, why am I going to do this? Why am I like, did you ever struggle with that, or were you always like motivated from the beginning?
No, I struggle with it because you got to think it's like even in those days when I lived in like downtown Long Beach, it's like it could be anywhere from like an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours if like there was an accident or this or that, and uh, you gotta I would take the 405 in to LA and then get off on La Cienega, and you have to go down that street to hit Sunset, and you're like it's gonna take up all my time, so you try to find shortcuts. But yeah, it's like you struggle with it. You struggle with being motivated to push yourself to go do this mic that you're not going to get paid for. There's no audience members. It's probably just, audience full of your peers who are looking down at their phone, worrying about
Right.
their own set list, which I understand. Um, yeah, and sometimes you would even have to pay $5 or buy a drink to get on stage, and it's like, is it worth it? I think most people would say no,
Right.
but the crazy few comics that we are, we're like, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
$5, you buy your own beer, go on stage for a couple minutes, no one listens to you, and you can hear yourself talk out loud, talk through a bit. It's a pretty good deal.
And like, did you, because obviously time was very, especially for you, was very precious. Like, I would do them if I had to, but I purposely would try to avoid the bucket mics, because there's no worse feeling. Like, for example, like, and I'm not in LA anymore, so I can say it. Like the Flappers one in particular, like you'd get there, sit for 3 or 4 hours, and there's like you might not get up.
Yeah,
Did you ever
I mean,
do that,
it
or
was
did
all
you avoid
strategic.
those?
No, it was all strategic. I mean, I did those. I mean, I did the ones like At Inner Sanctum, I did the ones in, in the West Side. I did the ones in the Valley. I would go all the way to the Valley to do those. I would even go back to Long Beach, to do. So wherever there was a mic I could do, and it was always like me, piecing together an itinerary of, you got to go from here to here to here, and just worst case scenario, if you don't get up here, you can go here, or is it worth it to go all the way over here today? Just go to this bucket mic, and you could probably get up. Even if you're the last name, you can get up, and if you get out early, great, you go do another show. If not, it's just going to be a one show night. Go home, do laundry, do this. So it was always me, like, I think, my caregiving experience and my upbringing has served me well in that way, where you start to kind of like piece together a schedule. I got to do this, I got to do that. Even college, like in college, you learn what an opportunity cost is, and stand up, you have to kind of factor that in. You weigh stuff out. Is it worth me staying in traffic for 40 minutes to go do this mic, where I could just stay here another 40 minutes, see if I can get up. If I get up earlier, then I go do this. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I did every and any open mic I can get my hands on, and that's where the hunger or the habit of doing 3 open mics in one night, 4, 5 if you can swing it. Like, it was very much doable. So when I was getting like book spots, it was that's how I treated my work day in LA. Before the pandemic, it was me doing at least 2 open mics. I can go to Marty's, pay the $5, go up to Marty's, run it a couple times. You can get up multiple times, go do another open mic somewhere else. Maybe I got to do a spot at the Improv, or maybe I had to go all the way down to the Valley. Or I go to West Side Comedy Theater. They had the thing down there. But then my spots at the store were 15 minutes, but it was after midnight, 12:30 or 1 a.m., 11:45. So by that time, I already had like maybe 2 to 3 spots under my belt. So the premise that I wanted to try for the day was at a place where I could at least say it clearly.
Right.
So when I tried my stuff at night, it's like I'm doing open mics for me to run everything at the 4th mic that I was doing, 3rd or 4th one, which was my Comedy Store spot, for 15 minutes, right?
Right.
So you record that. I had a long drive home. I would listen to it on my ride home, just to kind of like sit with it. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, but I absolutely listened to it the next morning with a cup of coffee. I'm sitting there checking emails on my phone, eating breakfast, and I'm listening to my set, taking notes down, because it's easier to tag yourself when you're not in the moment than it is to think of stuff in the moment. So now I had everything that I needed, right? I had everything that I needed, all my notes, how I could say it better, go out there and do it again. 3 open mics, 2 open mics, whatever it was. And then I landed on my spot at the store or at the Improv late night, because that's where they would put me in the lineup. So fuck it.
Right. And
so I wasn't, yeah.
And how? Because I'm not familiar with this part of your journey. Is like, were you able to be a door guy, or how did you get into the store?
Yeah, I was a door guy. I was a door guy for a few years. That's where I met all the comedians, and I got to be friends, because I mostly worked the parking lot. I parked cars for a few years, and I cleaned the bathrooms, cut tickets, answered phones,
Wow.
even worked with the maintenance guys there during the day. Like, whatever it was, I did it. I did every seating. I did everything
How
there, but
stressful is it doing the cars? I always imagine, like, what if like some of these comics have nice cars, like, and it's a small lot. Like, I always imagine being so stressed out about, like, I'm gonna hit somebody's car, or like they're gonna
you
want to get
will. I mean,
out. Oh, you
it's
did.
unavoidable.
You ding. Oh my God! Do you have a store, like, anyone big, or like a nice car?
Yeah, I mean, they were all nice cars, and yeah, I mean, there was. I once put a little dent in Dub Davidoff's car,
Oh
and he
no.
had just gotten a brand new Challenger. I mean, all the bells and whistles, beautiful machine. I mean, just
Oh.
the coolest freaking car you can think of, and the coolest version of that car. And I put a dent, in it, and um, Yeah, there's been, many instances. I forgot who was the other one. There was only two that happened to, which that number is really low in the parking lot door guy world.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
I
you're
walked
still
out of
pretty
there with
good.
two. Yeah, I walked in
Wow.
pretty cool.
And
But
were
yeah,
they cool with you? Did they were they too upset or
class
no?
acts,
Oh,
class
nice.
acts. I mean, I'll never forget that. He had every reason to kick my face off of my shoulders, just kick my head. And, and I totally would have gone, retrieved my head, put it back on and said, I totally understand. They didn't do any of that. Dove was a class act. But yeah, I mean, that lot comes with a lot of pressure, but that was my journey. I was able to, you know, work. So I was getting a little bit of money that made it easy, whatever minimum wage was in those days. And then, you got to go in there, and this is before the Comedy Store was hot, before it was like golden, the golden years that, we remember, where every room will be
Right.
sold out. So it's like I was there before that, and I could go in there and sit down and watch a whole show before anyone was like, "Hey, can I get my car?" All right, it's like I'd be going in and out of the showroom and dipping into all three rooms just to watch who was there. A big name came in, I was able to kind of sneak in there, watch their set, and as soon as they're like, "All right, thank you guys," I'd run down and be by the car, kind of thing.
Wow.
So it was great. I mean, working at the store really taught me a whole lot, and got to make friends with so many comedians, and to see their work ethic. Going back to that part of our conversation, seeing what each comic did, and at the level that they did it, and how busy they were, and they never like they went all in. And to me, it was always like, how what does that look like for me? What version can I operate where I have so many things going like they do? And you just draw inspiration by all those comics.
Right, and it's weird because comics can be like the ball busting, I'm sure they give you a lot of crap a lot, but it's like a lot of times like when you have a job somewhere, they see you as like the lowest. Like when you came in, like they always see you as like the door guy. But like something I've noticed is that it seems like at the store that at least they don't hold it against you. It's like they still see you as a comic, and like they're willing to like give you a chance on a show or give you advice, and it's not like, oh, he's just the door guy. Like they do realize like he's on a path, the same path I was on, and like they're very accommodating with that and like nice about that.
Yeah, I think people understand how coveted those positions are, and the weight that goes with it. Like, you wait years to be tapped and be like, hey, would you like to work here as a door guy? And yeah, I think comedians understand that. I can't think of anyone that was like a prick, you know, towards a door person. I mean, there was instances, but maybe it was like someone who didn't frequent the store and didn't really understand it. So I'll say this: any comic, who's like a legit comic, was always very courteous and awesome, and was willing to have a few words with you as a door guy, because as a young comic, you have a sparkle in your eyes. You see,
Right.
you see Joey pull up, and you're like, hey Joey, and then he walks away, and you go, who says hey Joey? God damn it, you should have said something better.
That's funny.
Rogan would have come in, or I mean, you name it. You like, Mark Maron, like whoever. Is like, the list goes on, and it was cool to be able to over the years build that rapport with them. And it's like, oh, there goes that weird nervous kid again, kind of thing. And he's just like, ah,
Well, that I
that
mean,
kind of thing.
it's funny because like Joey talks about that with like Sebastian, how he was like a really nervous, shy guy when they first got there, and now he's one of the top comedians in the world. Were you ever able to bring your parents and let them see you do stand up at the store?
uh, Man, you're coming with the good ones, man. So check it out. I take my parents down. They've gone down there a couple times. Like one time, like during that time of like my pops, getting treatment. I couldn't find a caregiver like to watch my mom, and I had a spot, and I'm like, you know, I need those 15 bucks.
Right,
So
yeah.
so I took my mom with me and I put her in a wheelchair and I put her in the back of the OR and I performed. And then I wheeled her back out and I put her in the car and we left. You know, there's been a ton of those. But I remember when I got passed. So when I got passed, you know, names are going up on the wall. And I wasn't in town, I was on the road. And then, so when I got back in town, I couldn't wait to go see my name painted
Right.
on the wall. It was a big deal. So I had, you know, talked up. I, the problem was that I talked it up too much, I think, to my folks. So I'm like, it's the name on the fucking wall. I'm a paid regular. Da, 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 da. My dad says, how much you getting paid over there? I said, kind of thing. I'm like, 15 smackaroos. And he's like, are you nuts? He's like, you park cars
Really?
for that many years so you could get a $15 spot? I'm like, yeah, but it's 15 minutes of stage time. I forgot to mention that. He's like, $1 a minute, huh? That's what we're going for.
That's
And then
funny.
so he wasn't having it, but I said, you know what? My name just went up on the wall. It's Sunday. You know what? Everybody dress up. We're going on a trip. So, you know, mom gets all dressed up. She's like wearing her rings, her necklaces, and you know, she did up her hair. And my dad's, you know, got his nice little cowlick going. And we get to the store. I take him out. I go up to it, and for some reason, Ian Edwards was there during the day. You know, he happened to be there. Dear friend. I mean, one of the best. Talk to him damn near every day. You know, I hit him up. I probably do annoy him, to be honest. I'm just realizing that right now. Anyway, uh, so we get there and we're walking up to where my name is, and I go, Dad, what'd you think? Look at the name, and he just like looks over at me, looks over at the thing, and then my mom's like, "It's nice. Did you write it?" I said, "No, I did not write it." And then my papa goes, "So this is it?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, how much are they paying you again? I'm like, 15 bucks. He's like, let's get out of here. And Ian's there. He's like, what'd your dad say? He's like, he asked me how much I'm getting paid for my pay regular spots. I told him 15 bucks, and he said, let's get out of here. Let's go eat, kind of thing. And he thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever. Because, again, I don't know that anyone understands the kind of value that has on a comic. And, you know, especially working there, you know, it has an added pinch of like salt seasoning in there.
Oh
So
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw. Did you get a chance to see the documentary on Showtime?
bits and pieces. I don't have Showtime anymore, but
Oh,
yeah.
I don't have. My dad has it down here. So we watched it, and it was so well done, and I got very lucky. Like I got spots there that I should never have gotten. And I did well a few times. I did bad a couple times, but it's like I was not a huge fan of LA. Like I was when I left, I was fine with it, but it's like for those of you who are listening and maybe agree with Jesus's dad, it's like, wow, 15, you worked all those years and you took out the trash for 15 bucks. It's like
Yeah,
just
I
like
absolutely did that,
you're
and it's
you're
worth it.
you're part of his, like you're, even if like the store ends up closing, which I hope it doesn't, and hopefully it stays open, but like it's like you're part of history now on the same place where Robin Williams and Jim Carrey, you're part of even better than a fraternity. It's like you're part of a building now, and even if it got knocked down or repainted, you're in, like it's like like frankly you could have said like I'll burn all those $15 checks. Like I'm sure you needed it at some point, but it's
Yeah, no,
like
I definitely
it
needed
was
them.
it wasn't that wasn't the important thing. It was like validating for all those years at open mics with homeless people and like
Yeah,
doing all those how I know I know your parents brought you back down to earth a little bit, but like what did it
yeah.
feel when you first saw it? How did you feel?
I mean, it was great. It was just kind of like, you know, the sense of accomplishment. You know, it's like, you know, having gone to college and you have that degree, that business degree, but you kind of, you know, here comes that word again, opportunity cost of like, do I go find a cubicle job or do I kind of follow my dreams and see where this leads me, and to see it pay off in that way. And again, it's like it doesn't make sense on paper, but it's like one of those things that it's so fulfilling that it's like, I don't know that you can put a price tag on this. It's just so fulfilling that I was able to kind of set out and do this thing to, you know, be on my way to be a working comedian. It's like, and at that time I wasn't really like, like I wasn't on the road on like because of me. It's still a journey, and by no means did I accomplish like what I wanted to get, but I knew that that solidified the steps that I had taken previous to that for this journey of comedy. And I
Right.
mean, on my wall, I have the lineup of the night that I did my first paid regular set, and it was just like I
Wow.
had everybody sign the lineup, and it was just such a dope moment. And, September 7th, 2008 is when I did my first paid regular spot.
Wow. So where did he go in the lineup? Towards the end or the beginning?
Very beginning, I went up first, so that's kind of like what happens at the store. Like, um, I don't know if they changed it towards the end there, but it was always like your first spot was you opened, and then you got to bring up Argus, and part of working the door was like you would hear every single comic who would go up on that lineup give Argus Hamilton that same introduction, and I had it memorized. It's like, here's what's crazy. When I did my first paid regular spot, I was going over Argus's intro more in my head than my set, because I'm like, you
Right.
don't want to fuck that up. Like, it would be so disrespectful, and I mean,
Oh, that was when I
that's where I
first
was.
hosted. It was terrifying. It was like, not only do I have to remember my 10 minutes, but then I also have to remember this guy opened for this guy and was on what show, and it's like I don't want to mess it up because like then I'm the jerk, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy. Now,
yeah. It's like Argus's intro has been said by every comic who kind of went through the ranks of that. So it's like you have to say in a certain way. It's like Argos, this next comedian coming up to the stage. I said, is a dear friend of mine and a mentor, and then here's the intro where it's like the intro starts with he's been on the Tonight Show more times than any comedian. He writes for over 150 newspapers and magazines syndicated across the country. A paid regular here at the Comedy Store. One of my friends, soon to be yours, Mr. August Hamilton. So you always would say the Tonight Show, and writes for over 150 newspapers and magazines, syndicated newspapers and magazines. Give it up for August Hamilton.
well,
And I was just
you'll
like,
be saying that in 30 years. You'll
30
still remember
years,
that.
absolutely.
That's wild. Now, you've been on for a long time, and thank you. And I just want to, like, I think it'd be great to talk about, and I'm glad that I remembered it at the beginning, is like you put all this work in, you've done everything with your parents. Like, how did like the tacos Contorto come about, and like how amazing was that to like, now I know like some people might think like look at it and like be like wow like it's like how cool was that, man? Like that's just
It
awesome to
was
have your own
cool.
show.
It was really cool, man. It was, it wasn't my idea. The show wasn't my idea. It was something that was created over at First We Feast, and they
Mm-hmm.
were looking for somebody to host it. And they reached out to me, and they're like, is this something you're interested in? I was in New York gigging, and it just worked out where I was able to go into the complex offices down there, and First We Feast is a part of complex, so I got to go down there, and we talked to Chris and Justin, and we had this long conversation, and they pitched this idea to me if I wanted to host it, and I'm like, food, comedy, yeah, like how could I say no to that?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so it was really cool. We were able to knock out 2 seasons, and it was just the coolest thing, like to be able to work with your friends and try food and get to know like people's story in LA, like get to know these great family stories of each business, each restaurant business. And yeah, and being able to connect. I mean, like all the comedians who were just so kind and gracious, and with their time to come on and talk shop and eat tacos. I mean I felt pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's on YouTube right now. And then where can people? Because I was talking to Danny. I know he went, and I think you filmed it your special in North Hollywood. That's right at that El
Yep.
Portal? I
Yeah, El
drove by
Portal
that
Theater.
8,000 how how great was it to like just like really like because that honestly like I know headlining and I know money is probably a goal, but like to have a special is again it's sort of like being on the Comedy Store wall. It's like that really cements the fact that you're like a legit stand up comedian. Like you have a special.
Yeah, it's a dream come true. I mean, it's nothing short of like wow, like to have an opportunity to take your shot at what our special looks like if I tried my hand at it. You know, I've worked for years to build this material, and now to have the opportunity to film my first hour special, to have my parents there, my friends, family, people who came out. It wasn't sold out by any means, but you know, some people came, and that was
Yeah.
enough for me to go up there and go up there and say my hour, edit it, see it come out. The promo was great. It felt really good, man. It felt really good. It was just a childhood dream come true, and I think which is a nice button for us here as we talk about parents and caregiving. It was a nice feeling to have my folks there and my dad to kind of see the production that was going on. And my dad put a number on craft services back there, like, and have my mom kind of see, the whole setup and the support that I got from my peers. Came out and supported. I mean, it was just great, man. It brought everything full circle, and it was like it was me. It was very important for me to have my parents there just so they could see, like, hey, like I know parking cars after college isn't the way to go, and it looks terrible on paper, but know that it's part of a bigger thing, and I'm working diligently to make $16 a set, Dad.
Right. Yeah, I'm up to $20 a set now. Like so what is
and
this?
not get gypped for tacos and a beer.
I know.
I'm playing. I'm joking.
No, yeah, it's not my fault.
I'm
So
joking.
hey, what's the name of the special?
Stay at Home Son on Showtime. Yeah, my first special. I hope people can go out there and check it out.
That's awesome. And then what's your social media stuff so people can go find you?
Social media, Twitter is at Jesus Trejo, which is JesusTrejo. Instagram is at Jesus Trejo, and just add a number 1 there at the end, and or JesusTrejo.com. All the links are there. You can check out Tacos con Todo episodes. You can check out upcoming tour show. There's a merch store there too. All the good stuff. Yeah, check it out.
Awesome. And then I'm sure when it comes back, and I know you did a lot of touring with Bert. And that was that crazy? I just can't imagine that amount of. I saw the videos and I saw them teaching you how to swim and like the partying.
Yeah.
How crazy was that?
I mean I learned how to swim when I was 33 years old. So it's like it was insane. The food is great. All the guys on tour are just class acts. We had a good time, and yeah, hopefully we can do that again. I mean, it was my first time ever on a tour bus doing comedy, and it was just the coolest thing. It was like, everyone had their own little fort. You at the end of the day, you close a little curtain and you're in your little cubby. It's like, wow. It was the coolest thing, man.
That's amazing. And so honestly, Jesus, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said it, and it's just true. For a up and coming comic like myself, very inspiring. If I could be half the comic you are, I'd be amazing.
Oh, stop it, man!
No. It's true.
I'm up and coming too, man. We're all trying to get it, and it makes me happy to know that I have some really solid peers like yourself out there, man. We're all comics, and we're trying to find the next punchline, man. And it's a great journey that we all decided to embark on, and we got to keep supporting each other. So thank you for always, going to bat for me and rooting for me. That it means the world, man.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Hopefully once this is all over, I'll get to come out to LA and I'll get to see you again.
Yes, sir. Take care, man.
Thank you, buddy. Wasn't that great? I thought that was great. Thank you so much to Jesus for coming out. Again, check out Jesus, which is spelled Jesus, Trejo, like Danny, I think, but not related. Almost positive it's not related. Trejo.com, and on there you will find his special Stay at Home Son, now currently streaming on Showtime. You'll have a link to Tacos Contorto, which has Joey Diaz in one of the episodes in the first season. He also has links to all of his shows. He has merchandise. He mentioned his social media on there, but It's just Jesus Trejo. And I believe on Instagram it's Jesus Trejo1. Let me just do a quick check, and I apologize. But I have it right here, so give me 2 seconds. Jesus Trejo. Yeah, I was absolutely right. I have a memory of an elephant and the booty of one too. Jesus Trejo #1, just the number one. So it's Jesus Trejo1 on Instagram, and definitely go give him a follow. I wasn't just buttering his biscuit when he came on. He really is. It's like him and Jeremiah Watkins, who I also would love to have on. Jeremiah, I know you're about to have a son, but I would love to have you on as well. I don't know if he's a son. I'm pretty sure. I know you're having a child. We spoke about it, or we messaged about it. But Jesus is one of the best, just comics in general. He is going to be known a lot more than he is right now, and I'm happy to have him on before he's too busy for me. Obviously a great person. I mean, you heard how he talks about taking care of his parents, and obviously not everyone would do that. And he's an extremely hard worker, much harder worker than I am, and very, very funny. And yeah, I was just super excited to get him on, and thank you very much, Jesus, for coming on. Okay, so I mentioned it in the intro, which for you was about an hour ago, but for me was mere seconds ago. The magic of podcast editing, huh? What do you know? I mentioned it about an hour ago for you guys that I am coming out with a new podcast. It is called the Waistline Podcast, and it is. I'll just give you the pitch, and forgive me if you listen to it. This is a little bit of a repeat, but just so you're aware, I am aware that I'm stealing it from Loveline podcast radio show. I guess it is now podcast now with a different kind of host. What's her name? Amber. I forget her name. I'm sure she does a great job, but I come from the Dr. Drew and Mike Catherwood days. And they would talk about relationships and sex, and I got the idea to rip them off and talk about losing weight and all that comes along with that, the health and the mental and the motivation. And I have an episode coming up with a great guy named Shane Wally. You might have seen him on TikTok or on Instagram, and he has lost over 100 pounds in the last 14 months. So that episode will come out in about 3 to 4 weeks, and I just really hope I can build it into something that creates. And I'm using the word because I don't like the word safe space. I'm coming up with the word positive space, which is sort of the same, but safe space makes you sound like a dork. So I'm just trying to create a place where people can learn about losing weight, get motivated to lose weight, and just learn from each other and support each other. So that is what the podcast is. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, tell a friend. I am putting that on its own YouTube channel as well as its own podcast feed. So go check that out if you're interested, and if you happen to be of a normal or healthy weight, maybe tell a friend or even listen to it, and maybe you'll know how to help someone in your life who might have that issue. And that's the end of my podcast sales pitch. I am doing pretty well, actually. It is beautiful in South Florida. It's about 9 p.m. on Sunday night right now as I am recording this, exactly 9:02. At the tone, it'll be 9:02 p.m. Oh, no, it's not 9:03. Damn it, I was going to do that, but I didn't want to wait. Man. Now I have to restart. No, I'm not going to restart. Florida has been wonderful. It has been nice to see. Oh, I got to see. That was fun. I got to go see Steve Simone and Jimmy Schubert perform at a place in Boca Raton called Arturo's. If you're in the southern Florida area and you're interested in comedy, I believe they do it there fairly often. It is a delicious looking Italian restaurant. I unfortunately did not get to eat any of it. And I love Italian food, so I was very angry. But I got to have dinner with Jimmy and Steve, and they got, listen to this. Listen how much of a dork I have become. Um, Jimmy lives nearby Boca, and there's a steak and cheese. Um, it's like it's more than a stand, but it's like a restaurant, but it's just a window, and you pick it up, and there's seats outside, what you can do in Florida. And being that Steve and Jimmy were or are from the Philadelphia area, they wanted to try. Let me see, my mouth is watering as I talk about it. And I was a dork, and I got a chicken cheesesteak and a side salad. You heard me right. A chicken cheesesteak and a side salad. How depressing is that? Actually, the chicken cheesesteak was delicious, but that might be because I haven't had anything similar to that in about 3 months. And then we went to the show, and Steve killed it. I met and saw Bruce Smirnoff for the first time. He unfortunately does not own the Smirnoff Liquor Company, so I can't suck up to him. And then there were a couple other great local comics on it as well, and also Jimmy Schubert from the dinner that I just spoke about closed it out, and that was my first. I've seen Steve a bunch, luckily, and he's gonna be at Soul Joe's in Royersford, Pennsylvania, in the next. I think it's on Easter weekend. If my memory can confirm that, but just go follow Steve Simone at Steve Simone. That's SIMEONE. But Jimmy Schubert, who might also be there, similar, or he's in a bunch of places. Go check Jimmy Schubert out as well, because that was my first time seeing Jimmy live, and he just it was. I told you, it was an Italian restaurant upstairs in a private room, socially distanced, don't worry. And it was like you were back in the Comedy Store. He just blew up in like 25, 30 minutes. Like, people had to like take breaks from laughing to catch their breath. He was so funny. He's very, very funny. And you should absolutely 100% go check him out. If you are in the South Florida area, I believe he either is going to be at Soul Joe's or maybe just was there. He's in, is it Barbados right now? He's in some part of the Caribbean. Wherever Bobby Kelly just was. So if you don't follow all these comedians, that means nothing to you. But check him out, Jimmy Schubert. Check him out on social media. Him and Steve Simone are both hysterically funny. And it was super nice. It was great to go out again. It was my first time out, honestly, in a year. Like, in Milwaukee, I went to dinner with the guy I was working with. I'm trying to think. I didn't go anywhere. I went to my aunt and uncle's house in Boston. And I went to a Jewish deli with my dad and 98-year-old Aunt Ida for my dad's birthday. And that has been it. Let me put it this way. That night with Jimmy and Steve was my first time wearing a belt in over a year. And it fit. You stinker buns. Which feels great, but also not great because it hurts. Hurts my tummy. I hate belts. I hate them. They hurt. I feel like taking a belt off for a fat guy is like taking a bra off for a girl. There's nothing better. And then like the red lines in your stomach. You skinny people might not know what I'm talking about. You might not even have to wear a belt. Maybe pants just fit you. And kudos, but you've never had kudos. Isn't kudos a snack? I think it's a candy. Or Rolos? Forgot about Rolos. God. But I do not know. I should be leaving Florida within the next about a week, I think. I I was waiting. I am still gonna wait to see if there's a chance I get the vaccine. If I don't get it by this time, now, so I guess I should have one more episode in Florida for next week, and then after that, I will be on the road back to Worcester, Massachusetts, and then from there, places unknown. Like I said, I'm really enjoying Patreon, and I'm really enjoying doing the podcast consulting that I'm doing. It's fun because now, thank you to everyone who is so nice. And I do think I do offer a good service, but obviously the majority of my clients have been through people who like you, who follow me on social media and or listen to my podcast, soon to be podcasts. Don't forget the Waistline podcast. But because I'm on Fiverr now, I am getting people who have no idea who I am reaching out, and I've learned that I have to not tell them about the drugs that I used to do on the internet because it scares them. It scares them away when I'm like, yeah, you know, when Joey and I were smoking weed, because I just assumed everyone knew me from the church, and they're like, what? And then I didn't get an order, but that's fine. So yeah, you got to be careful with that. But that's really it. I wish I had more to tell you. Unfortunately, life in the pandemic era is fairly boring. But I got to be honest, I thrive in boring. Boring is my middle name. I'm not nervous about when things come back. Like, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the option of going outside. Not to say that I want to go outside or I will go. I mean, I'll continue my walks, but like, you know, groupings, large gatherings of humans. Ew. I just did something weird with my hand. I was like, ew. No, I've been thinking about it, and I'd like to think that I will come out of my shell and sprout a beautiful butterfly. Oh, it's no wonder girls don't like me. But I don't know. It's I've never really enjoyed it. I like when like girls touch my back. Like there's no good way to say this. I'll say what I don't like, and it will make sense. What I dislike about being in public places with large groups is like when like we're all huddled close and then someone walking behind you touches you by accident. That makes me want to rip my skin off and throw it away and grow a new skin. And so I am kind of I mean, I do have to get out a little bit. I am really looking forward to doing stand-up again. It took a while. I think I've said on here, I've done 4 minutes since in a year, I guess. Yeah. And that is not too much time. So I pretty much have lost a year of stand-up experience. Not even experience. But I am looking forward to getting on stage again. It's that really is my social activity. Mainly because like there's rule. I function well with rules. So I get on stage, and then even at open mics, the other comics aren't allowed to talk really, and if they do, I get to yell at them, and it's accepted. And I won't be socially shunned. And then when I'm off stage, I'm supposed to be quiet. And then the only part, and I was gonna ask Jesus about this, but I just, like sometimes when, and this goes for anyone who has thought about doing a podcast, like I had a question for him, and I wanted to ask him what it was like, having that responsibility at home, and a lot of comics, a big part of it is socializing after the show or the open mic. And it just really didn't. I had it in my mind a couple times to ask him, but it didn't. Every time I thought it would fit in, he went down a different road, and I I'm just a believer really in like to follow the guest where they're going, and obviously if I need to steer it, or if like I thought it was like the most important question in the world, I would have asked it. But I kind of, he kept saying he talked a lot about how he had to get back to his parents, and I didn't really feel like the answer was going to be life changing. But that is actually something about comedy that I'm not super comfortable with. It's weird. I would rather be on stage in front of like a few hundred people than be like, it depends. If I know the comics, if I'm like already friends with them, then yes, I can go into the circle thing and talk and giggle and do all that fun stuff. But like being the new guy, like right now I'm in Florida and there were a couple Florida what's the word? Not located. Florida based. There we go. There were a couple Florida based comedians at the show with Steve and Jimmy, and it's just I don't really do well in a group. I'm not good at jumping in there. So that whole hanging out thing after the show is very important, especially to make friends. And it makes me uncomfortable. I forget who it was. I think it was a comic who I know named Anna Valenzuela. I think that's her name. I think that's who posted it. But she posted something like, let me see if I can find it really quick, because it was like, it was something to the effect of, you'll know if you're socially dependent. Is it? Let's see. Is it this one? No, it's not her. I think I was right. Where are you? Here it is. Yeah, signs you might be codependent. Pleases others to gain approval. Focus more on others instead of self. Gets self-esteem from helping others. Has trouble setting boundaries. Worries excessively about others. Feels overly responsible. Difficulty identifying wants and needs. Thinks it's their job to save people. Feels anxious when others are hurting. Can't say no without feeling guilty. Making mistakes triggers shame. And 12, attracts people with problems. That could be on my Tinder profile. That all those 12 lists. I don't really know what codependent means, but I gather from that it's not good. I actually bought Whitney Cummings' book like 3 or 4 years ago, and I read like the first chapter and then proceeded to never pick it up again. And I think she talks about that, so I should really read it. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I wish it was simple to just change. Like, like the thing about losing weight, which is nice, is and there is a huge mental aspect to it. I'm not saying there isn't, but the nice part about losing weight is that there's like a formula. Like I eat less calories than I burn, and then I move a little bit, and then I lose weight surely but slowly. There really isn't like a thing to be like fix what's wrong with my brain. It'd be like go to therapy, continue going to therapy, be honest with the therapist, don't hide stuff, stop hiding things from your therapist, cry with your therapist, and I fail at don't hide things from your therapist, because yeah, I don't know. I probably should go back. I really did enjoy it. I know there's a big stigma around it. And I don't think I need it once a week, because I did find myself sometimes like it's sort of like if anyone out there is a comic, it's like sort of like being on stage and then like running out of stuff to say, so you start like grasping. So like I don't really think I need a weekly one, but it would probably be good to once a month check in and dump all this stuff in my brain out. and really just, get it out. It's sort of like I was watching an Instagram video because I am full of motivation and I work super hard. But it was actually it wasn't an Instagram video. I think it was a YouTube ad, and it caught me because it's actually something that I'm worried about. And if you're eating, maybe pause this podcast until you're done eating. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, pause. Welcome back. How was your sandwich? Good, I hope. Um, it was an Instagram. It was a YouTube ad for a company that created a product that cleans your doo doo out, and they started the ad by saying like the average human has X amount of pounds of excrement inside of them, and ever since I heard that Elvis died with like 40 or 50 pounds of poop inside of him, I'm sure that's how I'm gonna go. Um, I just ate so much fast food. Just one of these days, because I was just going through and doing my taxes, and not even doing them. I was going through and creating a spreadsheet for all my deductibles, and I was just looking at all like the restaurants that I went to, and I was like, I wasted so much money. Like if I like some people are like, oh, I wish I didn't buy that piano, or I wish I didn't get that nice car. I should have bought stock in McDonald's and Wendy's for the amount of times I was going there. It was ridiculous. And 7-Eleven too. 7-Eleven, you dirty, dirty bitch. Um, yeah, no one ever, like, I feel like even a weed dealer would be like, hey, you're coming to buy weed too much. Maybe you should take a break. No one at 7-Eleven was like, you are buying candy every day. Like, do you know candy's supposed to be maybe a once a week or once a month treat? It's not supposed to be a part of your food pyramid. That way more than vegetables were. I'm having vegetables and I'm like, huh, veggies, huh? They don't really sell veggies at 7-Eleven. They do, but I mean, ew. And that's really it, guys. I'm just, I'm trying to work on myself. I'm working on the podcast, and I really do think um the Waistline is going to be great. I do also, I'm excited because coming up in the next week or two will be the second mastermind on my Patreon page. And that will be exciting because I really enjoyed the first one. It's just, we sit down and we talk and we had plans for what we wanted to work on. And hopefully within this month, we've all made steps. We've taken steps to reach those goals. And I'm just I like online friends because they don't touch my stuff. And I get to say goodbye whenever I want. But I actually do really enjoy my the people I have. I was telling, I have a gentleman on there named Ryan. Actually, we have a hot Ryan, we have a cold Ryan. And I was telling hot Ryan because he's from San Diego, not his. He is a very attractive man, but it's because he's from San Diego, and cold Ryan actually lives in Worcester as well. So hot Ryan and I were chatting on the messages, and we were just talking about how nice actually another member named Vilma is. No, she's not dead. And I just said, and it's true. And I also want same for everyone listening to the podcast. I'm very lucky. I have a very 99% of everybody has been very supportive, very nice, and I'm very blessed. So thank you very much for listening this week or watching. Don't forget YouTube. Hello. I just waved for all my audio listeners. That was a deep voice. Thank you very much for checking in. I had a great time with Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, again for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for the love for the Johnny Mitchell episode last week. So crazy. If you're just coming in this week, Johnny Mitchell was selling $1 million a year of weed, and then he went to prison. But until then, he was doing pretty good. So that was a great episode. You're great. I love you. I like you. If I could see you, I would hug you. And I'm looking forward. That is one thing I'm looking forward to hugs again. Post pandemic, I'm gonna be a hugging machine. Um, have a great day, a great week, and an even better life. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.